there you see on the left-hand side, it's Daryl Ayers playing Sultai Urza, taking on Zan Syed. 4-color Wurza, Whir of Invention present in Zan's deck, as well as the Thopter Sword combo. Meanwhile, Daryl, more fair, Fatal Push in the deck. A little bit more removal. You know what's not fair, though? A turn 2 Oko. And Daryl's got it. Going to deploy that one. Ticks up Oko, makes a food. Zan with a fine start as well. Gilded Goose, Arkham's Astrolabe. Just a little bit behind what that Oko is capable of. Mishra's Bauble from Zan. Takes a peek at his own library. Plays an untapped Breeding Pool. Sends the turn back to Daryl Ayers. Uses Gilded Goose to make some food. One of the food becomes an Elk. It's time for Elk beatdowns. Cryptic Command is the play from Zan. I think it's bouncing Oko, but Daryl's going to counter back with his own Cryptic Command. Figure out the modes on that one.
Yeah, and I like this
counter bounce
land.
land. Yeah, smart. Wants to keep Zan off that 4-mana breakpoint. Does have the best 3-mana play, though, in his own Oko.
Oh, but he's so far behind.
Yeah, it's tough to catch up when you fall behind in the Oko wars.
You know, with Daryl's Oko having so much loyalty, I think he almost wants to swap over one of his foods for either the Elk or the Goose.
I don't hate it. He's just going to go ahead and make another Elk, though. Trades happening. Daryl going to go ahead and crack a Misty Rainforest. Mystic Sanctuary comes down. No rebuy there.
And I also wonder if on, you know, when Daryl fought that counter war, he bounced on the Cryptic Command?
He did have the rebuy. I'm sorry.
I wonder if he should have bounced the opposing Mystic Sanctuary, tying up a tap land in Zan's hand.
Interesting. Here's another Mystic Sanctuary that is active. I forgot it counted itself for a moment, which is ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah, why is that card an island?
It looks like both players now with Urza. Okay. Well, this is going to get out of control very quickly. I might just check out, leave this to you since this is your favorite form of Magic.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. What has just happened? They both have Cryptic Command, Oko, and Urza.
I will say that it seems to me that if you are in this spot, the deck with access to War of Invention should be advantaged. Like, you can eventually set up your Thopter Sword combo. But who knows how these next few turns are going to play out. And I guess you only have a spot to do that before Oko takes over, so you're a little vulnerable to any kind of disruption that Daryl might have.
I was going to say, like, if you have the option to either have cards that just always have some sort of value to them, or you've got this Thopter Sword combo, which sometimes comes online, but other times it's awkward.
So look at this. Daryl getting aggressive with the Cryptic Commands. Going to tap down Zan's team.
Yeah, and can he win this turn?
That's a good question.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Gilded Goose makes some food. Looks like this was in hopes of taking out Oko, which has happened. Mission accomplished. How about some swaps? Steal your Urza. Sounds good. Second one in hand, of course, for Zan. There's always a second one.
Of course, he says.
Zan going to go ahead and do a little fetching. Plays that Urza. It's going to make the construct 4 mana at the ready somehow.
How is this Magic?
You wanted this, Craig.
This does remind me a little bit of when Jace was playing all the Squadron Hawks, and
a very small amount.
I mean, those games were often super complicated. There were tons of resources.
Battlefield based.
Both players seemed to just have infinite card selection throughout the game. And that was another time in Magic where I just was like, this is not how I want Magic to be.
I love the Caw-Blade arrow.
Well, there were certain people that loved it. I think just watching the games was miserable.
And it looks like Daryl's going to show what would have amounted to a lethal Oko, and Zan's going to scoop him up. Daryl up a game. See, I didn't have that same sense. For whatever reason, and I understand Magic is different for everyone, I don't begrudge anyone who loves these style of games. If this is what you're into, fine.
I agree with you. But I think the onus is on the developers to prevent things from getting like this too much.
Agreed.
I feel like
this has a small shelf life at best.
One, when games get this complicated, you're removing so much of the variance from the game. So now only the best players are winning every time.
Right. Which is problematic.
Which is a huge problem when you just start pushing the mid-level players out of tournaments. They don't even want to deal with this.
I hear you. Well, why don't we take a little peek at the sideboards? I don't know if there's anything that's going to really excite you here. Over on Daryl's side, we're looking at 2 Future Sight in the sideboard. Someone passed around the memo on this card. Everyone's on board.
Yep.
4 Mystical Dispute, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Maelstrom Pulse, 3 Ashiok Dream Render, an Unmoored Ego, and a Ceremonious Rejection.
I like the Mystical Disputes a lot.
Interesting cards there from Daryl. That doesn't look like your typical...
Well, 4 is a lot of Mystical Disputes, but it's kind of... We've seen I'm going to play my blue card, whatever it is, Oko or Urza. The one person has the Mystical Dispute, and the other person has their Mystical Dispute to counter the opposing Mystical Dispute.
Yeah. Yeah, Daryl just loaded up on that option.
Well, the blue cards are the most important in the matchup as well.
For sure. You want to be able to have some counterplay to those explosive early Okos, early Urzas. Meanwhile, over on Zan's side, we're looking at a Pithing Needle, a Damping Sphere, 2 Abrupt Decay, a Veil of Summer, Assassin's Trophy, 3 Blood Moon, Ensnaring Bridge, 3 Fatal Push, and 2 Mystical Dispute. I would say Daryl's a little bit better set up for the mirror.
Yeah, I feel like Zan's got more flexible cards in there.
Right.
But, with the way the winner's metagame seems to be shaking out, having 4 Mystical Disputes just seems great to me.
Looks good, yeah. Both players looking at their openers here. Like Zan on a mulligan to 6. Does have the play, though. Going to lead just on Mox Opal. Meanwhile, Daryl Ayers is going to start with the Arkham's Astrolabe. Turn headed back to Zan. Emery comes down. Looks like we whiffed on artifacts, though.
Every time we say that, the next turn...
They have something.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, the deck is a very large percentage of artifacts. Here's a Gilded Goose from Daryl. It's going to make a food. Mox Opal comes down. That's online. We have accelerated. Plenty of mana on the next turn for Daryl Ayers.
All right, and Zan makes a liar out of me.
Did not have it. Daryl going to play an Arkham's Astrolabe, Gilded Goose. All the mana, not a lot of payoffs yet for Daryl. Is going to be very well set up to fight over any payoffs, though, as the game goes on. Another Astrolabe. Going to be a big construct at some point in this game. Just plays tapped Watery Grave, and looks like passes the turn. Zan going to go ahead and fetch. Grabs his Breeding Pool.
Brian, I don't know if I've said this before, but I hate that Astrolabe.
I feel like you mentioned it. Maybe I just tuned you out. Well, here you see the first Mystical Dispute at the ready for that Oko Thief of Crowns.
Well, it's a little awkward because with Daryl not doing a lot, Zan was just 1 mana off of paying for that one.
Ultimately, though, it got the job done, and Ayers able to land an Oko of his own, and thus starts the snowball. Zan going to have to do something big on this turn. A lot of options for big plays. We know that. Here's Urza. Going to resolve.
Okay.
That's your path back in. We expect it to be elked pretty quickly. Zan going to take advantage of his Emery to make a bunch of mana. I think we got an Urza spin out of that. Looks like yes. What does it have? Emery? Play that, dump a few more artifacts into the graveyard, hopefully. And then the turn heads back to Daryl.
Yeah, I mean, that's super awkward. if the best you can do in the turn where you generate 9 mana is you play your Urza and you spin it.
Yeah, and Daryl is about to have a huge, huge turn here. Gonna go ahead and Elk the Urza as step 1. Just passes the turn back. Does have his Urza online though, and has Archmage's Charm at the ready for anything that could go wrong. Zan down to just 1 card in hand.
Yeah, and Daryl's construct is just massive.
Yeah. Now Zan does have access to Emery for 1 more turn, I would guess. Just can become an Elk next turn. Looks like we're making some blocks. Yeah, Zan shows another Urza, and that's going to get a handshake. And Daryl Ayers takes down Zan Syed 2 games to 0. As we thought, a deck well suited